We're here at Future Astronaut. We're getting ready to have a discussion, and uh, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do, and then I'll start. My name's Lane Breckenridge with Future Astronaut. So go ahead.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Lane. I appreciate the opportunity to come in here with you guys and
Mm,
talk about a little bit of the work that we're doing. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Abdiel Alexander Santos-Galindo, and I am a ground integration engineer for the Exploration Ground Systems program here at Kennedy Space Center. Um, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talk to you all about all the cool stuff that we're doing.
good. Well, tell us what you do with your job. What you gave us your title. I'm going to give that again, and then what you do with your position. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a ground integration engineer for the Exploration Ground Systems program. And essentially what that means is that I work with the team that's in charge of developing all of the necessary programmatic requirements and expectations of our ground support equipment and systems, specifically for the vehicle assembly building and what we call the launch vehicle offline processing element that is composed of the rotating and processing and search facility, which is kind of where we bring all of our boosters in for the SLS rocket and process them. The turn basin, which is where our core stage came in,
Mm.
and also a mobile launcher park site, which is where we park the mobile launcher when we get the work done and when we have to do some modifications for it. And so essentially our role involves taking a subsystem from GSC perspective, from the design, development, test, evaluation, and certification aspect of work, all the way up until the point where we're satisfied and we feel that we can provide proper concurrence for this system to be turned over into an operational use. We also support a lot of console operations at the Launch Control Center for all of the testing, validation, and verification. So I sit on the integration console, which is essentially the console that provides that technical expertise and knowledge whenever a problem or a situation may come through that the subsystem hasn't been able to individually resolve. So it's a lot of work. It's
It
really fun.
is. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah, I can tell. It's a great job, I think, to be with NASA. This is uh, the second golden age of space, and it's kind of great to see that we're continuing to progress.
Hmm.
A lot of things coming up at the Cape, right? We should have
Absolutely.
we have the Axiom One launch. We have a Starliner, I think, is going up in May.
Oh yeah.
And so we have a lot of things going on. I'm excited. We
Oh yeah.
also have Crew 4.
Hmm.
So things are happening, and we have SLS on the pad.
Which I'm a little bit biased to say it's the cooler one, but there might be a reason for it. But yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. But it is an exciting time. It is something that is worth it's worth getting excited about.
absolutely.
Um, so tell me about where SLS is right now in that process. You kind of described design through certification for operational use.
Hmm.
Where are we at within SLS development, and as much as you can tell us, okay?
Absolutely. No, no. So right now we are in the final phase of work with the SLS vehicle, meaning right now it's currently sitting at the launch complex or
Mm-hmm.
Launchpad 39B.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to catch it over there for a few more days. Looking at the calendar right now, we got a couple of more days of work to do over there, and so we're in the process of completing the work for our wet dress rehearsal. We can
Okay.
talk a little bit more about that also if you like to, but
Mm-hmm.
essentially when we complete our efforts for the wet dress rehearsal, that vehicle will return back into the vehicle assembly building. We'll get some final checkups done and some final vehicle work completed, and then it should be able to roll out to the pad and it should be able to launch. So honestly, we're just in a matter of nothing to get this vehicle up and ready for launch. So it's a very exciting time. I was grateful to be there when the vehicle assembly building was completely empty, no flight hardware in there whatsoever, and just seeing that vehicle come to life and be a reality, and now just be a matter of nothing away from launching. It's just very exciting. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So go ahead and tell us about the wet dress rehearsal. You kind of teed that up, so I'll let you
Oh,
discuss that.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So essentially, it's the final test that we have to do for the vehicle in an integrated manner that basically simulates everything that happens during launch, except for actually launching the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, it means that all of our personnel gets to report to station and support a launch environment condition in which we go ahead and we fuel the vehicle, We power up all the necessary systems, Orion, the Interim Cryogenic Propulsion System, or ICPS, SLS, the boosters, etc. And we verify that everything is operating appropriately before we actually begin fueling the rocket with its appropriate fuel. And
Mhm.
so once we get through all that procedures and process, we go ahead and we get through the countdown, and we stop at right around T minus 10 seconds. And we kind of say to ourselves, we're good. Let's go ahead and simulate a scrub as we would normally operate if we have to get to that point. And after we simulate a scrub and everything ends up successfully, we kind of close it off and we say to ourselves, this vehicle is ready for launch because we have been able to successfully test it in a condition where we went through the actual flight timeline for it
Mhm.
over at another NASA facility. And now we actually simulated the full countdown, not only with just the core stage on its own, but also the entirety of the vehicle and our ground support equipment, which is the kind of more important part because it's the first time they're all together for the first
Mhm.
time.
Do,
So yeah.
yeah, no, that's okay. Do people like astronauts get involved with this wet dress rehearsal and actually do their steps in that launch countdown as part of it?
Yeah, so we collaborate a lot with our mission control center over at Houston. So
Uh-huh.
actually, they are with us throughout the countdown procedures and simulations that we've done before, because obviously, there's been countless amount of simulations done with the teams for launch and all that other stuff. This is kind of like the first one that we do with the
Mhm.
actual rocket in place. But that being said, when we have our mission control team involved, we do also have our astronaut office involved in one way or another. And so the majority of the times that they've been involved, it has been just visiting the
Mhm.
facilities and kind of seeing the rocket and seeing the vehicle. I'll tell you a quick story that was actually really amazing to me. So, one of my days just kind of minding my own business in the vehicle assembly building. That's one of my offices that I have over there. I went downstairs to go verify some equipment and some procedures that were ongoing that I wanted to understand what was going on. And I bumped myself with two astronauts,
Oh, cool.
and so they were just kind of minding their business, kind of seeing all the facilities in the area. And I mean, getting the chance to interact with them is just amazing because they're so enthusiastic about what they do. They literally talk to anybody that's in the
Mm.
area. It doesn't matter if you're a high level engineer or if you're a technician or if you're an intern. They don't care. They want to know what you're doing. And so
Mhm.
they literally came up to me and they're like, so what do you do here? And obviously, I presented myself the same way that I did with you and all that other stuff. And it seems that when I told them, I work for the BAB and I'm a ground integration engineer for this entire building and I have a general understanding of all the facilities, they kind of turned around and they said to me, can you give us a tour? And I was like,
Cool.
me? Give you guys a tour? And they're like, yeah, we want to see the area and you probably know what you're doing. So that ended up with me walking around the VAB on the mobile launcher with the SLS, with two astronauts that could be flying on the SLS in the future,
Mhm.
literally just showing them around. So it was just a fascinating experience that I'll never forget. And it just shows you how the astronaut corps, even though this vehicle does not have any humans on board, it's actually keeping track of it because the next one will actually have humans
That's
on
right.
board.
So does a wet dress rehearsal simulate the first launch of Artemis 1, or do they actually look at steps like, okay, when we here's when we would load astronauts if astronauts were on board?
So I think the majority of the effort that we're doing right now is encompassing the work of simulating the launch specifically for Artemis 1.
Hmm.
We do have a lot of additional efforts that occur when you are within the vehicle with astronauts on board. But in reality, the timeline for those steps doesn't necessarily interrupt the work that's ongoing right now for the aspect of work for EGS. So I want to say that more than likely our mission control team is running through those steps, but we don't necessarily have to run through them because our priority is just kind of making sure that the vehicle operates appropriately with the ground systems. Knowing NASA, though, somebody's doing that already.
And I suspect will you be involved like with the next wet dress with Artemis 2, right? When we do the
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah,
so you'll
yeah.
still be
Oh yeah, yeah.
okay.
Our office is involved with everything that has to do with that uh, design, development, test, evaluation, and certification aspect for all of the ground support equipments in EGS. So any single time we have a new upgrade that comes into our plane, which we do have some stuff for Artemis 2, and we do have some stuff for Artemis 3 and 4, our office will be a part of it. So actually, it's funny that you mentioned that. Our efforts for Artemis 1 are done because
Mhm.
we certified everything that we needed to, and now we're just doing final integrated testings and verifications for the wet dress rehearsal for the vehicle. So a lot of our team has already moved on to Artemis 2, Artemis
Oh,
3, and
cool.
Artemis 4. So it's weird seeing that the rocket really hasn't taken off yet, but you're already working on that. But it just shows you how quickly things are progressing to make sure that those next missions are ready to go.
So your office is actually certified Artemis One, ready for operation.
Absolutely.
So
All of the ground support equipment that has to do with Artemis 1 has been ready for operation for quite some time now. So
okay.
it's been used, it's in operation, and we were very excited to hit the milestones that we needed to be able to get to it on time.
Yeah, I didn't know if you needed to wait till it rolled back or whatever
Nope.
before you. No. Okay.
Yeah, we're good to go,
Okay.
which is
Good.
insane, but yeah.
So, what's your prediction on what's your prediction? I know NASA's not giving an official one date, and you can't give an official date, but
Right, right.
you can kind of say, okay, here's my crystal ball. Here's what I think.
Absolutely.
Uh
So I can tell you, right now, wet dress rehearsal is the most important thing that we have to get through.
huh.
Once we get through the aspects of wet dress rehearsal, we will be able to set up a very specific launch window
Hmm.
that is going to deviate from it very slowly. It won't be, I mean, it won't be that much of a deviation from it.
Hmm.
Do I have a crystal ball? I do. Am I allowed to share it? Probably not. But
okay.
talking on the work that we're seeing and the efforts that are ongoing, I would still tell you that we are definitely pushing for a May, June launch. More
Hmm.
than likely on that early June timeframe is going to be the one that we're pushing for to get it done. I think our team is working very hard to get that effort done for wet dress rehearsal completed. I was actually on console this week working through the efforts that are ongoing right now. And in a couple of hours, I actually have to go to the launch control center again. Hence the reason why I'm in my house right now and not in
There
the
you go.
office.
Hmm.
But we're working 24/7, around the clock, 3 shifts, nonstop, trying to get all the work done, ready for that wet dress rehearsal that should be happening here within the next few days. And as
Hmm.
soon as we complete that, we should be able to announce an official launch. And I don't think we're going to deviate from it that much, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well,
So
that's cool.
it is much more sooner than people expect, I guess I would say.
Yeah. How does it? How do they have to coordinate that? Because you'll have other launches going on. The Cape
Yeah.
is busy.
Hmm.
Used to be that. You know, 5 years ago it wouldn't be quite as
Oh,
hard to
absolutely.
come, but now you got Atlas launching. You got
Hmm.
um, Falcon 9 launching.
Hmm.
Um, so that's quite a deal. And I know you don't coordinate the launches, but it's got to be
Oh, but
amazing.
no, it's fantastic, and I mean, and I have a general understanding of it. So, and it's a really great question to ask because, in reality, sometimes the delays that may happen in the launch windows aren't necessarily because there's some sort of technical issue. It's
Hmm.
because the range is not available because there's so
Right.
many vehicles launching and so many things operating. But so, in a very general aspect, the way that we go about preparing for the Artemis 1 launch is we have to take into consideration a lot of different things. But if I want to put it in a high level perspective, the priorities are our orbital mechanics for the Orion
Hmm.
capsule. Our Orion capsule is going to be traveling all the way to the moon and coming back. And
Hmm.
so obviously there's a lot of effort that's involved in making sure that we pick a time frame that operates appropriately so that we can have the maximum amount of time on the moon and
Hmm.
traveling for Orion. And so in reality right now this mission could be anywhere between 26 days up to 48 days, to my understanding.
Mm.
And so it all depends on when we launch. So, from a NASA standpoint, we would like to launch as early as we can, but we also want to launch in a window that gives us more time in space because it gives us more time to be able to actually operate the capsule and work the vehicle
Hmm.
and understand how it operates in that environment. We also want to make sure that we have a window that gives us a vast time to be able to troubleshoot stuff. So there are certain launch windows that are like minutes. And so if you don't launch in a couple of minutes, you're done for the day. And so a launch campaign takes a lot of effort. It's almost 3 days ahead of time. People are already on console. There's a call to stations. You gotta set up your equipment, power up your equipment. You need to get fuel for the vehicle, which is a lot of fuel that it
Hmm.
needs. And if you don't use it, it boils off or it gets it's contaminated. So you're gonna have to process it again. So all of these things are going to go into effect, and you really don't want to have a launch window that only lasts 10 minutes,
Right.
because you're kind of, there's a big chance that on the first launch not everything is going to go flawlessly, so you're going to need some time to troubleshoot things. So launch windows are also very important. The time of the day that it happens, believe it or not, our public affairs team, our engineering team values a lot a daytime launch rather than a nighttime launch, because it gives
Hmm.
you the chance to actually get footage that you can use to validate stuff, and get data of the vehicle as it's traversing and traveling up and on its way to space. Um, and, and the list just go on. So what I'm trying to get at is, sometimes we do have pushbacks on the launch, but it's not because something bad is going on. It's just simply it's not the most optimal launch window that we have. And there's many other criteria that go there, but it just shows you that's not even scratching the surface of saying, for example, that Axion and SpaceX wants to launch that day, or the Atlas Fives want to launch that day.
Hmm.
So it's a very interesting world to be a
Hmm.
part of, and I know that the Space Center in itself is ever so quickly evolving
Hmm.
to be able to support multiple launches, in a more quicker cadence that
Well, yeah,
sometimes could even be more than one launch a day. I mean, we're actually pretty close to that happening here soon. So it's an exciting time to be in the industry.
it is. It is. So the SLS rollout happened. You were there. Um, is that like your highlight of the past month, or something even greater than that that's occurred?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail right in the right spot. I definitely want to say that it is the highlight of the time that I've been at NASA,
Hmm.
because I've been here for 4 years already. And when I came on board, there wasn't any flight hardware in the BAB. The building was empty. It just had ground support equipment ready to support a vehicle that was going to come at some point. And
Hmm.
so being able to actually be there, I didn't come in as a ground integration engineer. I eventually became one, but being actually the chance to be there and be the ground integration engineer when we first put the first booster on the mobile launcher,
Hmm.
all the way up until seeing those doors opening and that SLS vehicle just rolling out and being a reality, it was amazing. I mean,
It
I
makes it
will tell
real.
you. Oh, absolutely. Well,
you know.
I mean, I'll tell you. So I was actually sitting on what they call the northeast side
Hmm.
of the BAB, which essentially is if you have the BAB in front of you, and you have the main transfer out door in front of you, and the launch control center kind of behind it. I was on the opposite side of that, where the NASA Warren logo and the American flag is not, but that's the side where the SLS was coming out of. So I was
Hmm.
literally 40, 50 feet away from that rocket as it was rolling out. I could have gotten closer, but I was
Hmm.
with families and friends and all that other stuff, because we were able to invite them over, and I had to kind of keep my eye on them. But just the sheer massiveness of this rocket is just unbelievable, because I saw it in the vehicle assembly building as it got built for a bunch of months. It
Hmm.
actually got to a point where I was just thinking in the back of my mind, and I tell the story, and it's people. Some people find it funny. Some people are like, "Why are you saying that about the SLS?" But whatever. It got to a point where I was kind of like, it was like the kid that had
Hmm.
grown up and it's 18 years old, and you thought it was going to leave the house, but it's not leaving the house. So you're like, it was fun having you for a while, but you have to go. You got to go
Hmm.
spread your wings. So that's how I felt about the SLS at one point. It was kind of like, I love you, you're great. Go spread your wings. We need to start our modifications for the next rocket. So it was very exciting seeing, that vehicle just come outside and come to life, because it's big, but you lose perspective when you're inside of the vehicle assembly building, because that building is bigger than the rocket. So
Right.
even though you saw it in person, there were so many platforms in front of it and so many stuff that you're like, this is big, but it's not as big as I thought it was going to be. But then when the doors open and it rolls out and nothing else is in front of it, you're like, oh my God, it's humongous.
Right.
Um, to this day, it doesn't look real, in my opinion. To this day, it
Hmm.
still looks like a render. When I look at it, it's just incredible.
Yes. Oh, it had to be exciting, and a wonderful time.
Absolutely.
Um, I bet it was a big celebration. Did you have celebrations
Oh
afterwards,
yeah,
or?
so it's funny that you mentioned that, because so I was actually um an intern for NASA for the last space shuttle launch. So I
Oh,
was there
wow.
during STS 135, and I was actually sitting in launch control as well for it. It was
Hmm.
in one of the back rooms. 17-year-old me, no idea how I got any as lucky to be there. And I remember leaving the building and actually seeing the vehicle take off, and then going back into the vehicle assembly building, and they had a party going on. They
Hmm.
had tables out, and they had beans set out. It's a traditional thing for the Launch Control Center. I don't really know what the story behind that is, but they gave us some beans. We had that. We had a party in the VAB transfer out, a lot of events and all that other stuff. And this one, even though it most certainly was a celebration because we finally got the vehicle rolled out and everything else, everything went back to normal afterwards because we had so much work to do to make sure that the vehicle not only gets to the pad, but it gets appropriately tied down and we can connect all the subsystems and everything operates appropriately, that we didn't have a time to say to ourselves, let's go party. It was kind of like, this was fun. I'll see you at work tomorrow. We got to start working with all this other stuff in between. So I think the real party is going to be when Orion comes back, more than likely. And we have it sitting at our multi-purpose processing facility. So I think that's probably where we're actually going to have all those vehicles ready to go and have that celebration. But for now, we're kind of just putting our blinds, putting our head down. We got to get this rocket off the ground and back home, and then we can worry about the rest.
That's right. And so, tell us about the favorite part of what your job is. Besides eh, meeting astronauts, which has got to be very special, and
Yeah.
giving a tour to astronauts. What's the favorite part of what you?
So I think that honestly, there's a lot of things in there. But if I
Uh-huh.
had to pick one, it definitely has to be being at the Launch Control Center, doing the testing and doing the evaluation and certifications and all that other stuff for the system, because you catch yourself.
Hmm.
You walk into this building, and this is the same launch control building that all of the Apollo missions launch from, all of the space shuttle missions launch from, the same launch control building where SpaceX is doing mission control now
Right.
from their facility as well. And it puts you in a different perspective to know that you are walking where heroes and legends and all that other stuff walked at some point.
Hmm.
And it seeing all these movies and all these videos and all this stuff now, just kind of looking at them, for example, the Apollo 11 documentary that came out
Right.
recently, and just seeing that first shot when the movie starts where they have that camera panning in the room and they just go step by step and you see all the engineers just kind of sitting there and walking the consoles and all that other stuff. I'm in that room right now, and
Hmm.
I'm actually like working on that and actually kind of working on the next generation of the Apollo program. So that to me is just like the most incredible, amazing thing in the job so far. But there's a lot of other things that are like pretty up there as well.
Do you know where you're going to be on launch day right now?
So absolutely, yeah. So our office is actually have a room on launch day. So we're not going to be on firing room 1. We're actually be on
Hmm.
firing room 2, supporting the work for firing room 1 as well as
Hmm.
part of the integration console and a GIE support console itself. Now, that being said, there have been people that have been there much longer than I have. So I won't be the person sitting on console for Artemis 1. I will
Hmm.
probably be there for subsequent missions. And quite frankly, I mean, as much as I would love to be on console for Artemis 1, I kind of rather not, because you really don't have the chance to take in what's happening because you're
Hmm.
so focused on the work at hand and making
On the
sure,
mission. Yeah.
exactly, making sure that everything is like operating appropriately. So for me, I'm okay not being on console. I'm okay being off that day and being able to bring my family and friends to actually go see the launch so that I can actually take it all in rather than just being in that room, kind of just focused on that and maybe seeing a speck of the rocket going up, and that's about it. So,
Hmm.
so yeah,
Um, we've talked a little bit about STEM, and so tell us about how you got here. You said you started as an intern at age
absolutely.
17, which is
Age
awesome.
17.
And give us and give those kids that are in school kind of what path you took to get here and what path you recommend.
Absolutely. So I think it's very important, and this is the entire purpose why I do these talks and why I do these
Mhm.
conversations and these interviews, and it's because somebody took the time at some point to do this with me
Mhm.
and tell
Mhm.
me this is how you can go to NASA, this is how you can be a part of it, and I want to be able to furnish that interest and that goal for everybody to
Mhm.
come to the space industry. Obviously I'm going to root for NASA because that's where I am right now, but there's so many other industries out there, and it doesn't matter
Mhm.
where you go, you're still enabling space exploration, which is kind of like the main goal of everything. But so going back to my story, so I had the chance of going to Washington, D.C. when they were celebrating the 50th anniversary for NASA. So that was, oh, more than 10 years ago. We're almost at
Mhm.
60 some years. NASA was
Mhm.
founded in 1958, so we're 60 some
Nice.
years.
Yeah.
So I was there, and they had in the National Mall, the long strip where all the museums are and buildings and whatnot. They had a celebration for NASA, and so I went over there and I learned about all the stuff that NASA was doing at that point. 2008 was still when the shuttle was going on, and we still had some work going on and whatnot. And so essentially, I worked it out, and I talked to a lot of people, and I found out that I love NASA and I want to be a part
Mhm.
of it. And so I came home. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I
Mhm.
said to myself, okay, how can I be a part of this? Because NASA doesn't have a center in Puerto Rico. We do
Now
have a lot of
how old
activity.
were you at the time? What grade?
Oh my gosh, when I went there, it was 2008, 2009. So that was um I was 14 or 15 or 16 years
So
old. Yeah.
so like junior high or middle school.
Yeah, 14 or 15 year. I had the chance of going over there years old, and I was like, this is where I want to work. I don't know where, but I want to work here. This is cool. So I came back home, and I went on to
Mhm.
nasa.gov/education. And the NASA website has a very good thing where on the side they have a page, and I still think they have it, where you can look for opportunities based on your current grade. So it
Mhm.
goes literally from kindergarten all the way up until college. Like
Mm.
they have activities that are happening for all that other stuff. So I clicked on that website and I saw something that was called back then Inspire. And so it's the Interdisciplinary National Science Project Incorporating Research and Education Experience. We love our acronyms. And essentially, what Inspire was an opportunity for people to essentially experience the work that NASA is doing through talks and conversations with engineers, scientists, and everything that are there, and doing a lot of different activities that are related to it. But the goal of it all was for you to exceed and succeed in that environment and eventually get picked up as an intern. That was kind of like the ultimate goal. If
Mm.
you did a lot of challenges and you were good in school and you did a lot of stuff, you got picked for an internship. And so I worked really hard and I got picked for an internship. And that's how I landed at Kennedy Space Center in 2011. Um, I did my internship back then working on unmanned aircraft systems, and also shadowing people that were working space shuttle. And when I got there, I did the best that I could to kind of keep in touch with everybody and learn how I can come to be here at some point. And so one of the works that I was doing was actually for a robotics team that was collaborating with NASA that was at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And
Mhm.
so I learned about them. I learned about what they were doing. And I actually said to myself, this is a school that I want to go to. So I
Mhm.
ended up going to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. I got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering,
In Florida?
concentration in Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
Concentration in robotics, minor in space studies. And then when I graduated from them, I did one more internship and then I went on to the full-time role that I'm on right now.
Mhm.
So I guess my point with all this is there's a line that I can literally connect to everything, to that 2008 date.
Mhm.
And it's all about just looking for the opportunities and for the experiences. NASA is very keen in education, outreach, opportunities for
Mhm.
people to be a part of the agency through internships, projects, activities, whatever it may be. So for those of you that are in high school right now,
Mhm.
middle school, whatever it may be, they're listening, there are opportunities for you to do this kinds of stuff. I don't really know that NASA does internships anymore for high school kids that much. They used to do it a little bit more, but you can start at an early age. When
Mhm.
you get to college, get involved with a lot of projects and efforts and activities. Something that we look for at NASA a lot is somebody who's a team player, who works a lot on efforts outside of their curriculum. I mean, it's good that you're good at school, but what else are you doing that makes you different from everybody else?
Mhm.
And just apply to internships, apply to opportunities, at NASA, at SpaceX, at Blue Origin, at United Launch Alliance, Relativity. I
Mhm.
mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And the other important thing also is at NASA, you don't need to be a government employee to be at NASA. You can actually be a contractor. And
Mhm.
a lot of the work that's being done at NASA is by contractors.
Mhm.
So, keep in mind those stuff. And I'll name drop companies: Jacobs Engineering, Aries Corporation, ERC, Rafi Corporation,
Mhm.
etc. There's so many other companies that you probably never heard of that are actually working at NASA, and they constantly have openings and internships and all that other stuff. So opportunities are out there. And, if you ever find yourself with somebody that works at NASA, we're here to help. I mean, I was in those shoes at one point, and
Mhm.
I want to see other people that have the interest succeed because we need that next generation of explorers. I mean, I'm still relatively young. I guess.
Hmm. Okay,
Um,
you are.
you know, and whatnot. But I have a coworker of mine who was my intern at some point. So I had a bunch of interns underneath of me now that have been working with me. I wouldn't say underneath; they would say
Hmm.
parallel to each other because we work collaboratively all the time. But she's 21, 22 right now, and she's doing the
Hmm.
same stuff that I'm doing right now. And I'm just looking at myself like, oh my gosh, I'm 28, and there's
Hmm.
other younger kids just doing this effort right now. So age doesn't matter. It's just the enthusiasm and the experience, and you'll get to where you want to be.
So, what's your aspirations from here, right? Besides the launch, I mean, I'm talking more long term aspirations. And to be honest, I'm hoping that after the launch, we can have you come back, or maybe after the capsule splashdown, we can have you come
Absolutely.
back and talk with everyone. It'd be
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah,
That'd be
no.
great.
I would love to be able to do that. And so, well, aspirations after launch. Wow, that's a really good question. So I am a person who likes to explore a lot of different opportunities at all times. So
Hmm.
I think my main goal has always been to do launch control at some point. And obviously I've been able to get a snippet of it, but I won't be actually sitting there for launch control. So I think for me, it's trying to get as much experience as I can to be able to do that for the next launch or for the subsequent one. Um, I'll tell you something that I've always wanted to do as a little kid, and I still have it in my mind. You know, way off into the future after I've gained decades of experiences, I would love to become a center director at some point.
Hmm.
I think it's a really good opportunity to be a part of an agency that does all this kinds of stuff. Management is something that's always been interesting to me, not necessarily because of the fact that you have control over stuff, but because of the fact that you have the opportunity to mentor and guide
Hmm.
other people to be successful in life. And I mean, that's kind of what's, like I said, somebody did that to me, and I want to do that to other people as much as I can. So definitely aspirations are to be at launch control at some point. Um, and maybe become a center director, launch director, or something like that in the future. But I think the most important thing is that there are so many doors in this agency and even outside of this agency that I would not be able to necessarily tell you what I'm going to be 2 years from now. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's all about where you want to go to experience something new and something different, and how you can be a part of making a difference. Because at the end of the day, all of us young career people that are still like in the early stages of their career, I encourage everybody to try to take opportunities to do different things, um, unless you love what you're doing and you want to be doing that for the rest of your life. There's nothing wrong with that also.
Hmm.
But I always like to explore other things. So who knows, I would love to keep doing the work that I'm doing right now with exploration ground systems.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't be opposed to opportunities on other programs, on other
Hmm.
activities. um, um, Even the private industry. I mean, the world is my oyster, I guess I should
Yeah,
say.
there you go.
But
That's
at the same time, NASA's a pretty cool agency to work at. So,
it is. You get to wear the NASA shirt, and everyone thinks that you're a tourist when you're out in the airport too.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine. That's one of the things I've noticed, and it's worldwide. It's a worldwide phenomenon
Hmm.
that you go through any airport or any busy area with people, and NASA is the shirt that you see on everyone,
Yep.
and it's got such a stellar reputation.
Absolutely.
Y- you
Absolutely.
know,
And I'll tell you, I am one of the few that has been able to wear a NASA shirt, and somebody pull me aside and be like, "That's a cool shirt. Do you work there?" And me turn around and tell them, "I actually do." And their brains just explode whenever they hear that.
Boom.
They're
Yeah,
like, "Oh
yeah.
my gosh, like that's so cool!" Like, you're the first person that I've met that works there and all that other stuff. Just being a part of this amazing agency that's daily on the daily enabling space exploration, it's just something else. But that being said, no discount to all of the other companies that are also doing amazing work out there. I mean,
Yes.
they're just so incredible. I mean, I don't think that I would have been able to tell myself, my 17-year-old self that saw the last space shuttle launch and saw that program come to an
Hmm.
end, tell himself, hey, just you wait. Less than a decade from now, there's going to be God knows how many companies that are all going to be launching from those launch pads in the future. And it's not only going to be NASA, but it's actually going to be NASA and other private companies.
Hmm.
And they're collaborating with each other, which is the most important thing out of it all. It's
Hmm.
never a competition to us. We're here to open the doors for everybody to be a part of the space program, and we're here to help. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Um, let's see. So, Artemis 1's coming up. We'll talk again after the launch or after capsule splashdown.
Absolutely.
One of the two or both.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you like to cover? I've asked a lot of the questions that have kind of popped in, and what else do you want to tell people
Yeah.
that are watching?
So I think the one message that I always want to get across for everybody is the fact that don't let um, the complexity of what we do be a deterrent to your goals in the future. I mean, if you want to work at NASA, if you want to work at SpaceX, if you want to work at Blue Origin, Relativity, Northrop Grumman, it doesn't matter where you want to work, Boeing, etc. You know, you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of it all, which is something that I like to convey a lot. And it's funny because, at NASA, we kind of strive to tell people STEM, 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 STEM. That's what you need. You need to have a degree in science, technology, engineering, mathematics to be a part of the industry. It's easier if you do,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't actually need to have it. We have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people in the industry that work in our business office that
Mm-hmm.
without a business office, we wouldn't have the money to do the work that we're doing right now.
That's
So
right.
they have a very key aspect of work that we're doing. We have a lot of technicians that have an associated degree,
Mm-hmm.
technicians that only have experience that they gather from other places, and they're working with us right now. And without our technicians, we wouldn't do absolutely anything. I mean, they're the
Mm-hmm.
ones who are there hard at work all the time, doing the work, having the knowledge and the understanding. So you don't have to be an engineer to be at NASA. It's better if you are, because the opportunities are a little bit bigger for you. You have more chances of being a part of the industry, but you don't need to. At NASA, we have opportunities for literally everything that you can think of. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say literally everything that you can think of, I mean literally everything that you can think of. I mean, we literally have even people that work on the wildlife preserve
Mm-hmm.
area that we
Oh
have,
yeah.
and they're NASA employees, and their job is literally to go around all of the crazy places that we have at Kennedy Space Center and take care of our animals and understand what they're doing and what's going on. And they're contributing to the mission just as much as we are,
Mm-hmm.
because we're here to preserve also our environment and preserve our planet one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that our former center director Robert Cabana told me once, and I'm never going to forget it. And it was in a briefing that he gave to us, and he said to ourselves, each and every one of you is contributing to this mission one way or another. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter what you do, even if you're part of the crew that comes in to clean the offices and clean the bathrooms. You are a part of this mission because you're making sure that those buildings are spotless and those
Mm-hmm.
areas are spotless, so that the employees can have a good time where they're here and enjoy the facilities and enjoy the locations, and then be able to succeed in their mission. So everybody is a part of this. And I think I want to communicate that appropriately to everybody that's listening, that if you want to be a part of this agency in the future, it doesn't matter where you come in, you can be a part of the goal and the work that we're doing. So apply, get opportunities while you're young, get opportunities while you're in school, do a lot of extracurricular work, actually contribute to the work that's ongoing for it. And the opportunities are going to come, be it at NASA or be it in the private industry. We're not stopping. This is exponentially growing. And I
That's
can't
cool.
wait to see what's going to happen 10 years from now, when we're going to have people living and working in the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and space stations on the moon, and commercial space stations around low Earth orbit,
Mm-hmm.
probably be on the way to Mars at that point. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Um, at some point, did you ever consider being an astronaut? We're future astronauts here. Did you ever consider that in your formation period?
Yeah.
And was there a point at which you said, "Hey, that's not really what I want to do," or is that still an aspiration?
So let me tell you my story behind it. So it's funny because a lot of people ask me that, and like the automatic answer that I give them, I'm like, I'm good. I want to be an engineer. And I say it in the sense that it is a very daunting experience to become an astronaut. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're going into space. That's a very harsh environment. And it's not that I don't trust the work that we're doing. I absolutely do. But just the sheer incredible forces that you go through to launch, the experiences that you're going to have to go over there, it's kind of scary, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. Now, that being said, if somebody were to come up to me and like directly ask me, "Hey, Abdiel, we have an opening for you to be part of the next generation of astronauts to be going to the moon and everything else," I don't think I would say no. I mean, I would never miss out on that opportunity. Um, it's an incredible opportunity to be a part of. Do I have an aspiration to become an astronaut in the future? I like to be grounded, I would tell myself, but quite frankly, if an opportunity were to come around, I'm not going to say no to that. You're going to go to space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you say no to that?
Yeah.
So absolutely, I would love to do it at some point. I like to be a part of the people that are like building the
Hmm.
work so that that can actually happen and have other people experience it. Um, but I'm never saying no to a different opportunity.
Cool. Yeah, that's one thing that I think we all would love to be.
Absolutely.
You know, but you can see that it's quite a grueling process. I don't know. It's what 1% of all. It's less than 1% of the
Oh yeah,
applicants
absolutely.
that make it into the program.
Yeah.
So,
But see, here's the cool thing that you probably have seen so far, and I
mhm,
think it's going to be really impressive to experience in the future. We have commercial partners out there right now that are getting people up into space. They might not be NASA astronauts, they might be more of a commercial astronaut and whatnot,
right.
but you still get to experience the opportunity to see the Earth from a different perspective. And to me, I think that's kind of like the most important part out of it all. That
Hmm.
overview effect to understand and realize that we're all in this tiny little blue dot in space. And
Yes.
sometimes, we complicate our lives. We go through all of these struggles amongst, our other humans, and we have these constant conflict going on. And I always feel like having the opportunity to maybe experience planet Earth from that
Hmm.
point of view would put everything in a different perspective. And there are people out there that are providing opportunities that are similar to that as well. So I think as time goes on, I look forward to the day where space exploration is just like getting on a plane. We're a little bit ways away from that occurring, but I definitely look forward to the day where I can just go online and buy myself a Virgin Galactic or SpaceX or Blue Origin ticket and say, hey, I'll see you guys in a couple of hours. I'm gonna go explore the outskirts of my planet Earth for a few minutes, and I think it's gonna happen in the future. So.
Yeah. Maybe
Mhm.
I still even look at what the Blue Origin folks go through in training before they
Mhm.
do the suborbital flight. It's it's still a commitment.
Oh, absolutely,
There's still a
100%.
commitment. It's a shorter commitment,
Mhm.
but there's still a commitment because there's launch delays, and so you have to have flexibility in your life,
Absolutely.
and you have to go through at least a certain amount of training to be prepared
Mhm.
um, for those flights. But
Oh, yeah.
then you look at like the Axiom mission that's going up to the space station. Those folks have kind of set aside time in their life to
Oh, wow.
go to devote to this.
Oh, yeah. No, I
you know,
completely agree. Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
So I do agree. I look forward to when I don't know how cheap the tickets will ever be,
Yeah.
but but I do look forward to when I can use my Mastercard to actually buy a ticket
There you
and
go.
and maybe show up a week early and go through a training program and be able to launch myself. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
um, anyway, so I want to thank you for joining us here at Future Astronaut. Like I said, I'll have you back after the launch if you're willing to do that, and then
I think we can
after
coordinate something, absolutely.
and then after the capsule splashdown as well, because
Mhm, mhm.
I know the mission isn't over until the capsule's safely back on. You know,
Absolutely, and quite frankly, before that even capsule touches down, we are already working on Artemis 2, so it doesn't stop. A lot
yeah.
of people think that we have a big gap in between, and they're like, "Oh, they're just gonna kick back a little bit." Well, no, we have
Well,
so much
it's
work
in,
ahead of us.
I'm assuming as soon as the I'm hoping that as soon as the Artemis one's out of the way, that everything starts to construct again in the
I
VAB.
mean, I'll even tell you a little bit more. We already have a lot of projects for Artemis 2 that are ongoing and
Hmm.
and in the VAB. And there was a project that we even were holding off until it launched because it required modifications to our equipment that is utilized for platform movement.
Hmm.
And when the rocket went off to the wet dress rehearsal, our team kind of gathered together, and the design engineer, operations engineer, and technical team just said to themselves, "We're not going to wait. Let's go ahead and
We
get
can
it
just
started right
let's
now."
get it started now.
So there are a lot of stuff that are already moving on for Artemis 2, Artemis 3, and even Artemis 4.
Mm.
So yeah,
It's got to be an exciting time for you. So
absolutely.
I'd like to thank you for coming and joining us here at Future Astronaut. I really like to thank everyone at NASA for what they've done to bring the SLS to the pad,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll see a launch here shortly and
Absolutely.
a return. So
Yeah.
anyway, you have a very good day. I look forward to speaking with you again shortly after the launch. Okay.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. And I want to say, absolutely, it's a feat of many. We're not here doing this work by myself. I'm not here carrying anything. It's a group of people that are hard at work at all times, getting the work done to get the rocket off the ground. And we appreciate the support from everybody and getting the work done and everything else. And I want to say thanks for the opportunity. And I absolutely look forward to getting the chance to talking about all the exciting stuff that are going to be happening here soon.
Okay. Well, you have a great day.
Awesome. You too, Lane. Thank you. And thank you for everybody that watched.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.